The best portal wide receiver. Who is it and why? I say Nick Marsh, but there's a couple other players that could top the list before too long.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We're going to get to know several different wide receivers during today's show as the portal has heated up. Yeah, quarterback is the top position. I've talked about it a ton, but you got to throw to somebody. And there are some guys that are in the portal that some of you probably don't know about, even a guy at Utah State, somebody I had to research. We're going to get into all those different players. But from the start to the finish, we're going to be talking about the top guys, fit, and how teams evaluate the portal wide receivers for their schools. Because my list is just generic. How it fits certain offenses, that's what's more important. So let's talk about that right here and now. If you take nothing else from this podcast, note the following. Every school's offense is a little bit different. Let's use Josh Heupel at Tennessee. They throw deep, a lot. Speed is the name of the game. Not that they don't like a big-bodied receiver, but you got to run by guys. The way that Heupel, or in this case, you could also bring in Alex Golesh, a disciple from Heupel's scheme. He was the Tennessee OC, went down to USF, and now he's at Auburn. They're going to go after guys that can beat the DB down the field for 6. They're trying to stretch the field horizontally with their splits, then go up top. So a guy like Nick Marsh, who I think, and many probably feel it the same, is the best receiver in the portal. He can do that, but he can do other things too. We'll come back to Nick here in a few minutes. But what about other offenses that are not necessarily going to be able to get those guys? They don't want to spend that. How do you evaluate? If you don't want to spend the money on Marsh, and that's going to be a pricey situation, is there a way to win with the portal market and not spend? Absolutely. Two things here. There will be a ton of guys in it. So again, just fit, get along with the coach. Maybe it's a coach you knew in recruitment, but he didn't win the battle, whatever it may be. And then secondarily, is your offense going to be that right fit for him? A big body guy, like you want to throw out a back shoulder fades? Notre Dame needs a boundary receiver. So a guy that may not be a 4'4" guy, but he's 6'4", 210 pounds, that's probably an option. And there are a lot of schools that fall into that boat. I'm sure that Texas A&M would like to have one more receiver going into the college football playoff that's 6'3" or whatever. That would help them. They lost their big boundary receiver to Georgia in the offseason. There's a fit for everybody. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through a handful of guys, and we're just getting started. I'm going to do a receiver every week in some capacity because there are so many good players. It's impossible to talk about all of them in a 20 to 30-minute podcast. That's not realistic. But first off, again, Nick Marsh is a little bit different than most guys, and here's why I like him so much. He came out of the greater Detroit area, 6'3", 200 pounds now, but he's 180, 190, and immediately was a hit for the Spartans as a freshman. Sophomore year, same thing, but with lower production on the yards per reception. Why? Well, Michigan State couldn't block anybody. The quarterback situation was up in the air. Aiden Childs, he's super talented, but he got benched. We know he can make guys miss. We know he's 6'3". We know he's long. We know he can beat people at the line of scrimmage. He is the all-encompassing. What I was talking about earlier with fit like Tennessee compared to Notre Dame, compared to A&M, etc., he can fit in any of them. That's why, to me, he is the safe number 1. I don't care which school it is. Flanker, you can play him at boundary, you can play him in the slot. Marsh is that guy. 6'3" is important. This is a data point that does not go away. Anytime I talk to a scout, anytime I talk to a coach at the high school or college level, anytime I talk to a trainer, I hear the same 2 words: height, length. Marsh has both. And again, he wins one-on-one at the line of scrimmage. That is a vital part of this because teams know he's good. They're going to come after him. They're going to go out and they're going to try to put a bump, and they're going to put a guy over the top. They might shade the linebacker, shade the safety. They might do a lot of different things. You have to at least win the initial battle because you're probably going to have more as you go down the field, he can do it. And if you want to throw short, you want to go screen game, you want to go just basic slant, out route, he'll make a catch and in close proximity, make a defender miss and take a 5-yard play, turn it into 60. He can do that. But at Michigan State, he didn't have that many opportunities. They didn't have a ton of players around him that helped. Again, especially the O-line. Quarterback was always under duress. That's a problem. I think that he's going to be really good. This year, for the record, 59 catches, 662 yards, 11.2. That's not great for a guy as talented as him, but again, circumstance. 6 TDs. He caught 58 of 97 targets. That's only 59.8% for a future possible first-round pick. That's pretty low. That should be 65, 70%. He did have 7 drops. He needs to clean that up. But talent-wise, Nick Marsh, to me, it's blatant. He is really, really good. Another guy that I want to bring up after Marsh, and this is one of the more fun guys to discuss. It's a little bit different. Inconsistency, but really talented. This is somebody that I've gotten to know a little bit. And to be honest with you, I don't think many people probably know a ton about him. Malcolm Simmons. He is at Auburn now, leaving after 2 years like Marsh. He's got a couple of years of eligibility, just like Marsh does. Another guy that can hit the home run. He would fit, ironically, at Tennessee because he can fly. He's a kid that grew up an hour from Auburn, played at Benjamin Russell High School. Really, really talented, but deep threat. Like if you ranked 5 things for him, you should put deep threat 3 times in a row and then go from there. He can make defenders miss, and he's versatile. He could play in the slot. He could play out wide at flanker and punt returner. Jet sweeps. He had a touchdown on a reverse. Like he's that guy. But he's not as big as Marsh. He's more in the 6-foot range, maybe a little bit less than that. I don't know, but standing next to him, I like to eyeball it more than I do going off what Auburn or any other school site says. But not as big, but really shifty. Screen game, reverses. You better be careful when he's running across the formation. Is he going to get the ball? If you're not paying attention, he will go for 60 on a most generic play there is. In the last 2 games this season, just looking at what he did, I don't know why, but when Auburn was under their last regime, the head coach was calling the plays, and he didn't do a very good job. Malcolm didn't have very good numbers. In 5 games consecutively in the middle of the season, he had like 26 yards in 5 games. Then in the last 2, when the new coaching staff or the holdovers were there, here are the stats he had against Mercer and against Bama. Against Mercer, 5 catches, 149, 29.8 in a score. Against Bama, 3 catches, 143 yards, 47.7 yards, and a score. Obviously, he's explosive. So with Malcolm Simmons and, again, Nick Marsh is very, very special. They're similar, but what's the big difference here? Height and length. That's why Marsh, to me, not only has he played more, but like his upside, I think, is higher in some senses. But again, this is the number one thing that I try to lead into at the beginning of the show. It's just about Nick Marsh and all these different guys finding the right fit. If you don't take anything else from it, again, one of these guys, I don't know who it's going to be that's not ranked with Marsh. He's probably going to put up just as good, if not better numbers, because the fit is right for that offense. He's comfortable at the school, etc. When we come back, I've got several other guys to go over, including a couple of big body guys, one of which I'm going to guess the vast majority of you don't even know who he is. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised or disappointed if you didn't, because he doesn't play at a P4 school. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Rocket Money. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here and an impulse buy over here, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers you need. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances. Because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions that you forgot about and you're still paying because they will gladly take your cash. It also helps you because automatically it's going to build budgets and it's going to be based on past spending, so you know exactly what you need to do. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day. right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in. And if you want to go to the next level, join the Everydayer Club. Description down below has a URL you can go to, and it'll give you further details. But here are the basics. For $5 a month, no ads, or $50 for a year. If you want to go that direction, and you've got a Discord and more, check it out. Everydayer Club right here on the Portal Podcast. Let's talk about some of the other big-bodied receivers across college football that have hit the portal already, some speedy guys, etc. But this next guy I want to bring up, I don't even know a ton about. I've just started researching him, but he's got some pretty good stats. If I said Utah State had a really good wide receiver hitting the portal, you'd be like, really? Because I said the same thing. I really did. I wasn't sure. Like, Utah State does? I saw them play, but I remember they had some good guys, but I don't remember a guy that was dominant. Who is this guy? So Braden Pegan, 6'4", 195 pounds. There's that word again. He's got the height. 60 catches, 926 yards, 15.4 yards per reception, 5 touchdowns. Now, I know it's Utah State's not playing in the Big 12 or the ACC, Big 10, or SEC. Totally get it. Having stated that, here's something else that's very important. He's consistent. If you drop 60 catches into that box, you had to do something right. They're not playing against a bunch of teams that don't have DBs. I mean, everybody still has DBs. It's Division I. He's doing something right. And at 6'4", that's going to draw a lot of eyeballs. Now, again, I saw him play this year. I saw Utah State a couple of times, but it wasn't like, okay, who's this guy? I need to really watch him. I was just watching football. No notes, no nothing. But that's why the portal is so fun. You don't know who's going to get in or why. And it keeps coming back to the same thing I've said throughout the show. Fit. Where does this kid want to go? He's got a couple of years to play. Maybe he ends up at a UCLA or a Texas or somebody that, a big box school, plays in the Big 10 or plays in the SEC, whatever. Or maybe he just wants to stick around closer to home, but go up. Maybe he goes to Utah or BYU. I don't know. But 6'4", 195 pounds, they're hard to find the boundary type receivers. That could be a guy that, plays both spots, maybe plays flanker some, plays boundary some. That would be very interesting. Last thing on him, there's a lot of guessing based on the same thing I'm talking about. The NIL for a kid like Pegan, I have no idea how you grade it. I really don't. And that's a fascinating thing. And I hope I hear some numbers whenever his situation comes official. Omarion Miller, big receiver. He's from Northwest Louisiana, little bitty town, Vivian, Louisiana, right on the Texas border, not that far from Arkansas either. Goes to Colorado. He tore it up. But now he's tearing it up in the portal. What are we going to see from him? Well, he's 6'2", 210. There's that size. There's that height. This year for the Buffs, he caught 45 of 77 passes. It's not the greatest ratio, but their offense was up and down. At 6'2", 210, again, going to draw eyeballs. 50 yards or more 8 times this year. So he was consistent. That means he's healthy. That means he's a guy that's targeted. That's a guy that Dion and that staff trusted. That's good. And above all else, who did you go off against? Did you do it against any good teams? Was it P4? Was it G6? Against Kansas State, 8 catches, 121 yards, 15.1 yards per catch. And then against West Virginia, 6 catches, 128 yards, 21.3 yards per reception, 1 scored. That's fine. It's not Georgia. It's not Ohio State. It's not Texas. It's not Notre Dame. I get it. But those are still P4 defenses. And he tore them up. And he's 6'2", 210, and that is a guy that I've seen. He's really talented. He could play flanker. He could play boundary. That is the receiver that I think, outside of Marsh, that I'm most curious about. Let's be honest. Colorado is dysfunctional this year with all the change they had in terms of consistency with the offense. New quarterback, they've changed quarterbacks, et cetera, et cetera. Dion's kids in the NFL now, so they don't have that. For him to still have 45 catches, it's not bad. What would he do if he was playing at Ohio State, if he was playing at LSU, if he was playing at a school like Georgia, where they have more consistency? If you knew who the signal caller was going to be from start to finish, that's probably 60-plus catches at a major school. I think Miller is going to be one of, depending on who it is, the top guys on anybody's board. He could be number 1 for some schools. He's a guy that can make the difficult catch, and he's strong. He's 210 pounds. That's a really good football player. We have a few other guys that I think are rather fascinating here. And again, it's subjective. I'm going to give my top 5 at the end of this, but here's a guy that somehow got out of the state of Florida and ended up at Kansas State. Jayce Brown, 6 foot, roughly 180 pounds. He's from Fort Walton Beach, which is the panhandle of Florida. Ends up at Kansas State. That's so random. 10 games this year, 41 catches, 712 yards, 17.4 and 5 scores. Also had 7 carries for 116 yards rushing, 16.6 yards per tote, and a score. To say the least, Jayce Brown is very, very talented. He's not a guy that I think many people give enough respect for, but he plays in the Big 12. He plays for Kansas State. Not as big a draw as some other schools. Watching his film, watching him play earlier this season against Iowa State in that opener and just randomly throughout this season, that's a dude. He's the pure flanker if you want him to be, but you can move him around, play him slot. I don't think he's necessarily a boundary. I don't think he's big enough to really block out there like that, but you could use him in a bevy of different ways. You want to put him in the backfield? Could he run? Wildcat? Probably. Could he play running back if you wanted? Yeah. Could he play safety or corner? Yeah. He's just a football player, and he's got great hands. Big playability, experience at the P4 level, and the numbers don't lie. Again, 712 yards on just 41 catches at the P4 level, you're a very good football player. If he was 6'2", he might be the number 1 guy on this list. And if some school don't be surprised if Tennessee makes him a priority, because he would fit in that offense so well because he can go deep. Certain teams might have him at the top of their list by a significant margin because they think this is the guy to get them over the top. Fit. Who do you fit best with from a schematic standpoint? Brown is one of those guys that has been very good for K-State. Obviously, that program was in disarray for part of this season, especially towards the beginning. Got it together later, but I think he can go be a 60-catch guy in the SEC. Just like Nick Marsh, just like Omarion Miller, just like several other guys I want to talk about today. I think he's a dude. When we come back, we're going to break it down a little more. We're going to give my top 5 right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. The holidays always show up faster than we expect. And if you're still putting together gifts, last-minute decor, or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final season touches, Wayfair makes it easier to get you where you need and fast. Wayfair truly is the one-stop shop for everything home, decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and budget, all delivered quickly and easily to your home or wherever you want to go. So again, the selection is really broad. If you need something for your bedroom, the front room, the bathroom, kitchen, it could be as simple as something like a rug. It could be very stylish paintings. It could be anything you can imagine. They're going to have something for you at Wayfair. Just check it out. And it's also very simple. You can have it delivered wherever you want, and there's all kinds of different options for it. No massive delivery fees either. Get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor and celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now and shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style and every home. Who are the remaining guys that I want to talk about for now at wide receiver? I'm sure a lot of you are like, Brian, there's tons of guys in the portal that are good receivers. And you're right. I'm not even remotely trying to go through all of them. I'm trying to give kind of an overview or a microcosm of what's going on. It's very broad. As much film as I watch, as much as I use PFF and CFP stats and all that, it's still just a small snippet. Either you're at the practices and seeing these guys live, which none of us in the media really get to do, or you're not. So the coaches don't talk about it, especially when kids leave their schools and they're not allowed to talk about other kids. It's kind of awkward. So I'll just continue with what I know and go with it. The guys I've talked about so far, Nick Marsh, Jayce Brown, Omarion Miller, those guys are very obvious. But what about Malcolm Simmons, a guy like him that's a burner from Auburn? He could end up being the best guy in this list by a mile. And then there's the Braden Pegan kid from Utah State. That's just the beginning. Perry Thompson and Horatio Fields, 2 more guys that are from Auburn, just like Malcolm Simmons. They're big boundary receivers. They could be guys too. Nye Carr just got in the portal. So did Aiden Mizell. Carr from Miami, Mizell from Florida. These are 2 track stars. Both guys, I think, again, Tennessee, Auburn, those offenses that really want to go vertical, watch out for them. You also have Raiden Vinesbright the kid that was at IMG Academy and played at Washington this past year, he's already in the portal after 1 year. Marquise Johnson, Dickinson, Texas kid, he was at Missouri. They had a pretty good passing offense. He had 28 catches, 340 yards. That's a pretty good player right there. 12 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns. He's not great, but another valuable piece to your offense if you're looking for a second or third guy. Not everybody's a number one. There are a lot of good guys in the portal. Even Bredell Richardson, a kid that I thought was going to be really good. He's at UCF. Now he's in the portal. Kid out of Tampa. He's got a ton of upside. And then the enigma right here. This is one that if you're a Missouri fan or somebody that saw Missouri play this year, help me out here. Joshua Manning. This is the one that I can't put my hands around before I do my ranking here. This season, as junior, 29 catches, 318 yards, 11 yards per catch, couple scores. Moderate, but obviously their passing attack, they didn't even try to throw the ball to the middle of the field. Big receivers need to make their living. Boundary catches, jump balls down the field, but you also got to run those dig routes and posts, and they just didn't throw it much. Against Auburn, 5 catches, 63 yards. Against Oklahoma, 4 catches, 55 yards. Those are 2 pretty good defenses. Against South Carolina, 3 catches, 36 yards. But those are his 3 best games. He didn't have 100-yard games, 100-yard game, 6'2", 215 pounds, and can run. He's a veteran. Missouri didn't do him any service. I think Joshua Manning is another guy that could end up like a Malcolm Simmons being the steal of this overall thing, like just totally. I absolutely do. But for now, here are my 5 guys that I have that are just pretty easily the ones that I would look at the most. And by the time this ends up getting posted later on for audio and everything else, this list will probably change because everybody continually gets in the portal. Nick Marsh from Michigan State, Omarion Miller from Colorado, Jayce Brown from Kansas State, Malcolm Simmons from Auburn, and then Braden Pegan from Utah State. You could mix that up. Marsh is the only one that I'm pretty steadfast with because he was focused on by so many teams and got extra coverage, extra help. And his own offense did not help him very much. And that's one of the reasons that Jonathan Smith was jettisoned from East Lansing. But Marsh in the right offense, or any of these guys, Pegan, Simmons, etc., they could all be dudes. And again, the enigma, the one I'm curious about more than anybody else on this list is Joshua Manning from Mizzou. And there are other guys too. I mean, Perry Thompson, Ratio Fields. There's so many good players already in the portal, and we're just getting started. With that, I want to hit the chat a little bit. There's some, I'm sure, all kinds of comments about different things and not just the wide receivers. Let me see what we got here. What's up, Raymond? How you doing today, sir? Appreciate you stopping in. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you like my hoodie. It's Portal Podcast hoodie. I support my own show. Absolutely. Exactly what my Irish need. 6'3" win at the line, guys. Yeah, look, Notre Dame's losing Malachi Fields. Let's just use them as an example. And this is why I keep bringing up height. Notre Dame's a good example for this. Texas A&M would be the other. Like, A&M doesn't have that guy, and Notre Dame's losing theirs. They both need to go out and get a portal receiver, and they both have money. What is the market for that? Because Jeremiah and Cam aren't going to get in the portal, I don't think. As soon as I say that, one of them will. But there just aren't any sure things really getting in the portal that are boundary guys. Miller could play it. Maybe he's that guy. I guess you could say that's pretty close to a sure thing. But how many guys are going to be in the portal that are boundary, and how many are really good? I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of 800,000 and up kind of numbers for true boundary receivers that are similar to Miller if they get in the portal. That'll be very, very interesting. Let's see. Could Nick Marsh or Simmons go to Notre Dame in the portal? I mean, it's possible. I have no idea which schools are targeting who at this point. It's pretty early because technically the portal doesn't open until the 2nd of January. Keep that in mind. Do you think Walker Lyons is going to portal to BYU to play his season with his brother? Oh, that's a really good. How many years does Walker have left? Because to my knowledge, I know Ryder's going to do a mission. Is he going to do it right away, or is he going to do it later? I'm not sure what Ryder Lyons is doing. I would assume, because quarterback's a little different, that he would do it straight out of high school. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's a really good question. Walker Lyons, good player himself, tight end at University of Southern California. And do you think Hal opens up the checkbook to get JKS some weapons because he's too good to waste with 3? Yeah, that is a great question. What is Cal's situation with NIL? I have no idea. And to that end, I know JKS wasn't cheap. Did they have to use too much of the money on JKS to keep him at Cal? I don't know what the deal is, but this is a never-ending battle of an arms race. It'd be cool if Cal got him. I mean, he's so much fun to watch. JKS, man, he's good. If you have not seen him, like more than a clip or two, go to YouTube and I don't care which game it is. Type in Cal and whatever team you want to see him play against and watch a couple quarters, not just highlights. Just watch the way he moves, the way he throws. That is a very fun football player. Salty Peanuts. Raymond, what's going on, man? What we got here? A non-receiver question. The Ducks probably need a transfer linebacker since missing out on Atkinson and Abrams. Who could you see them going after? Two things there. Number one, big game hunting. It's Oregon. They've got a lot of money. And two, let's be honest, they're going to try to get guys to go into the portal. Who did they miss on besides those guys in the last two classes prior? The 24 and 25 cycles. I would look at who they came close on, wherever they are. Were they productive? Are they struggling? Are they closer to home if they go to Oregon? All those little things like that, you can at least get an idea. But trying to project who gets in the portal, and I haven't even sniffed looking at linebacker yet. In my opinion, everybody say what they want here, the least important position on the field is linebacker in today's world because the ball is thrown over their head and quarterbacks using RPO, et cetera. Linebacker is mitigated. So that's the last position I really look at. But I'm sure Oregon will try to get at least one, and that defense is pretty good. But it needs to take another step up, in my opinion, to win a title. In Oregon, if Dante comes back next year, I assume he will, but need to see it. That could be a top 3 team. If linebacker is the final piece of the puzzle, Dan will find the player. One thing I know about Dan Lanning, he's really passionate about winning, and he enjoys the recruiting process, whether it's the portal or whether it's the high school ranks. He doesn't care. I think that he, in a lot of ways, is a great example of what hard work is all about, because it's not as easy as people think getting kids to go to Oregon. It's the most unique school in the country by a mile because it's an outpost. There's 2 kids, 3 kids a year that are traditionally from that state that are good enough to play for the Ducks. That's about it. So what he's done there is absolutely amazing. Last parting shot here, just kind of looking at a few things right before I went on. Like, it never fails. Whenever I go onto the show, right before I check, type in transfer portal, et cetera, just curious, maybe there's something that happened, blah, blah, blah. Malik Blockton is in the portal. For those you don't know, that's a really good defensive tackle that played at Auburn. He's got 2 more years of eligibility, was a major factor last season and this season for the Tigers. That's a really good defense. Guys that weigh 285, 290 and up, that can move like him, there aren't a lot. I would be surprised if Malik doesn't have a plethora of options, and I'm really surprised that he's leaving Auburn because, I got to know him a little bit. He was all about Auburn. He'll have plenty of options. The other one, didn't know this was coming either. Tight end Hayden Hansen from Florida. He started 33 games in a row, according to Hayes Fawcett. 33 in a row. 30 catches, 254 yards this season for the Gators. He's headed to the portal. He's 6'8", 269 pounds. He's a massive guy. Another player that probably will not have any problem finding a home somewhere. I don't know who else is going to be in the portal in the next 5 minutes, but as soon as I hit end on this podcast, it's the way it always works. Somebody will enter the portal. That's a major name. But right now, like today's started off pretty warm. Oh, wow. Actually, as soon as I say that, Bryson Rogers plans to enter the portal. 6'3", 190-pound receiver. He's out of Tampa as a kid, I know. Grew up a little bit in Ohio, then moved to Florida. I thought he was going to come back. That's interesting. He didn't get really much of a chance to play, so I don't know if he's got his degree, but he's got 2 years of eligibility left. He's very talented. Bama wanted him really bad out of high school. That's a really good football player. Bryson Rogers, another receiver. He's 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds or so. Very, very athletic kid. Great guy, too. Great mom, great family. Good luck to Bryson with wherever he goes. Let's see what we got here. Thanks for the insight. As always, Brian says, love life in Alaska. By the way, I've never been to Alaska. That is a bucket list thing to do. You're more than welcome. I appreciate it. I will probably talk a little bit broader. I've got another show to do today for the portal that I'm going to do for tomorrow morning. 3 a.m. audio, 5 a.m. I put it up on YouTube Eastern time for both. I'm going to do something a little broader. I'm going to talk about a few schools what they need. And again, talk a little bit about receiver, etc. We're to that point now we can kind of gauge a little bit because a lot of guys who are in the portal can have a little more fun with it. Watch for DeAndre Carter coming to Oregon too. The Ducks need a line, and they almost got him before Auburn. That's a good call. DeAndre Carter is a modern day kid. Really nice guy. Really nice guy. Massive human being. Would not be surprised in the least if DeAndre Carter ended up at Oregon. Wouldn't be surprised to ended up at either one of the LA schools either. You know, he's an LA area guy. But that's a good call. Thank you very much for bringing that up. All right, everybody, thank you very much for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We will see you again soon.